He stops, comes in front of us, he says, "Which way's La Paz?" I go, "What?" And he goes, "Where's La Paz?" And I go, "That way." Hi, I'm Sal Fish, ex-president and owner of SCORE International. Behind me, I don't know if you could see it, but it's a photograph out in the Boojum Forest, and I think that was in 1970, the NORA race. And myself and Bob Wagelin, Bob was actually driving at the time and I was a co-driver. We had all these great plans of finishing the Baja 1000, started in Ensenada and went to La Paz. And I got it in my mind saying, you know, first of all, well, we didn't have a tow vehicle and stuff like that. We were going to borrow someone's or have someone help us with it. But then I said to Bob, "Bob, you know, I'm going to drive it from our house, my house in Malibu, to Ensenada, because I said, if it can't go 200, 300 miles it is there, how's it going to go 1,000 miles off-road?" And he said, you know, that's not a bad idea. So we drove it from here to Ensenada, and it was street legal, but it was just it was an unbelievable vehicle. I mean, you know, those days you took everything that you could put in that food that no one could eat, but you know, you'd take that because the space guys were eating it. You'd take extra shocks. I mean, everything, and you know, and then you sat in there and you had all this crap pile bouncing all over the place and everything. So anyway, we did that. Okay, so. And that is one of the times that I spent more time with Mickey than I ever had. I was staying in the same motel that he was, and walking out of my room 2 nights before the race, his door was open and he had a cast of thousands in his room. And in the hotel room, he had, the walls were completely covered with sheets of paper. And I looked in there and I said, "Hi, Mickey, how you doing?" And they were very serious in there. And he goes, "Oh, well, we're going over the map." And I said, "Map? Well, you know, I had this thing that Nora sent. It was a 1-page, because there were no, you know, it was almost a point-to-point at that time. You just had to get to this just checkpoint and this checkpoint and that checkpoint." And I said, what do you mean, Matt? And we hadn't pre-run. We didn't, because I was working, you know, I couldn't go down and screw around. And so Mickey says, "You mean you haven't been on the course yet?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Well, let me show you." And what it was he kind of invented a rolling, like rally guys were doing. And he had been down there for a month, and he had every rock, every cactus, a cow that might have been there when he went by, but he had a cow there. He had and they were going over this with his chase vehicle. And I called Bob Wagelin, my co-driver. He was going to go out to dinner. And I said, "You got to come in here." I said, "I think we're in the wrong race." I said, "Look what this guy's got. This is how they're prepared." And he had all this great, I mean, it was unbelievable. 4.5 miles, go 80 miles an hour, drop down to 1 mile an hour. Do this, rock, riverbed. And I go, who could figure that out while you're driving? He goes, "Well, my co-driver, is rolling this." And I'm going, like, it looked like a roll of toilet paper. I said, "Well, I think we need some toilet paper, but we don't need that darn thing." Anyway, that car, in the following race, after we did make it to the finish line, we got a third because there was only 2 vehicles and us that made it in that class. So, but it was, and we were towed. And that's why we put in the ruling. Nora put it in after, actually, because they were the sanctioning body at the time. We were towed from Constitucion, which is 110 miles on the highway, from a garbage truck that was going from Constitucion back to La Paz, and we were towed all the way. And I explained in my great Spanish to the driver of the truck that when you see this, because I knew there'd be some kind of a finish line in La Paz, stop, let us out so we could push ourselves across. Well, he drove us right through in the garbage truck through the finish line. Anyway, that brought about, hey, you got to come under your own power across the finish line. But the race after that just is really a fun story for me, and it was a crazy thing that happened. We started the race in Ensenada, and as I said, I think the maximum speed on the pavement we go is about 40 miles an hour. It was so heavy, the car, and we had the wrong gearing. I mean, it was just, because again, it was an adventure, and it truly was. Well, we made it to just after San Ynez, the Rancho San Ynez at that time, and this was all off-road now. There was no highway like it is now. The off-road was the highway. And we just passed it, and we were just, I'd say about a mile starting to go into Chapala Dry Lake. And it was dark. Everyone had already passed us, and this was a point-to-point race then too, so you didn't see anything happening. There wasn't a constant flow of guys past because we were going so slow, and we were confused. We didn't know where we were going, and we were tired, and my Bob Wagon was getting very frustrated, and we broke the transmission. And I had estimated that we're close to Rancho Chapala, which supposedly was a checkpoint. And I had this vision of Rancho Chapala, of what you'd see on TV, the Mexican senoritas in the multicolored Mexican flag dress, and guys walking around with margaritas, and the guys in the guitars and the sombreros, and they were south of us, and I figured we got to get there because that's where the official checkpoint is. Nora's going to be there, and their civilization, because we don't have a chase vehicle. I mean, really, what are we going to do here? Who's going to find us? How are we going to get out of here? Well, we're sitting there by the side of the road. It was cold as heck, and I had tried to unpack the crap that we had in that car, because I had a SCORE, like, ski jacket. Bob had a sweater and another windbreaker or something. We're freezing out there, eating these beef jerky steaks or something that were terrible, and trying to figure out how the heck we can get out of here. And all of a sudden, we hear this car shifting down, and that was when, it was a beautiful night out there. It was cold, but the stars weren't up there, they were right here. You were sitting in the stars out there before you got to Chapala, and I'm hearing this car shifting down, and I'm going, go stand in the road here, because it's just a dirt road, and we were scared. You heard coyotes, hear all this crap, and so all of a sudden this car comes up, slams on its brakes, goes on us, hits us, and it's James Garner's chase vehicle. And the guy that's on the co-side says, "Have you seen James?" Like, James and I are buddies, have you seen Jim? Nobody, he's obviously ahead of him. Well, we got to catch him. And I go, wait a minute, and I'm going, wait, stop. I got in front of the car. I said, wait a minute, we're broke. Can you take us to Chapala? And he goes, yeah, okay. And this all happened within, 30 seconds. The co-driver jumps out. He has a tow strap that's about 6 to 8 feet long. He hooks it on the front of our Volkswagen. He goes, we're going, get ready. So we jump in the car. This guy takes off. I'm looking at his back lights because it's dark now, wiggling and screaming, saying, Jesus, Sal, what are you doing? I've got my foot on the brake, and he's just pulling. It's like a weight. He's pulling us, and all of a sudden, I'm frightened. The dust is, and we're in Chapala Dry Lake, which is this silt that comes up, and it's just like talcum powder, just comes off. I couldn't see. I could see these lights, couldn't see anything else. Got my foot on the brake. The car's sideways. I'm going, we're going to crash in the back of this guy. And we're flying in the air, and we literally, honest to God, they towed us faster than we went from the start of the race to where we broke. It was an E-ride of all E-rides. So they stop the car, undo us, and say, see ya, and take off. Now we're sitting there, and there's nothing, no lights or anything. Now what we are is 10 miles further south than where we started, right? Instead of going the other way, but there's no one going the other way, right? So what do we do? Because, and we looked around, but I didn't want to go too far away because it was the middle of nowhere. All of a sudden, daylight comes up, and I look out, and it is just barren dry lake with clapped out 3 or 4 shanty shacks, you know, that are plywood, cardboard, a goat, dogs running around, and a hole over about, which is a miracle we didn't fall in, a hole about 10 feet from where we are. Big, and I'm looking over there. No one's come by us, no one's done anything, and we're sitting there. And this guy walks over, I see he's got a wood ladder, that it made ladder. He walks right by us, doesn't say anything to us or anything, puts it down the hole, and Wakeland's going, what's going on here? Are these guys banned? What are they doing down here and everything? I go, I don't know what they're doing, what I know. So I walk over, you know, like an idiot, and I look down and I can't see anything. This guy climbs down this hole. Another guy comes out, and I'm still waiting for the senoritas to come over with their margaritas, you know. And another guy comes over and looks at us, and finally, in Spanish, starts talking. I said, no, I'm sorry, no Spanish, blah, blah, blah. I said, we're broke. We got to get to Ensenada, back to Ensenada. This goes on, and I'm thinking about this guy down here. What the hell's he doing? And then I go, you know, what's this here? And he's got they're digging a well. And I go, the caves are, I mean, they got nothing in here. I can't see him down there. And that guy, you could hear him, and I don't know where he was throwing the dirt out, because you got to get the dirt out of the thing to dig the hole, right? But, you know, I had a little other problems on my mind. How am I going to get out of here? So, bottom line is, he tells us, and I don't know how I understood this, that every other day or something, a turtle truck comes from La Paz, and it goes to Ensenada. And I go, oh, okay. Is he going? Well, he says, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. You know, this is all in Spanish. And I go, okay. I mean, we're really screwed. I mean, seriously. No, the checkpoint had already closed because we were so late, and they went south. So now we're standing there. It's hot as hell now. It was cold. Now it's hot as hell. We were filthy. All of a sudden, I hear again, car shifting like crazy, just unbelievable. And you could hear it for 20 minutes, you know, because just dead silent. And now I see this car coming from the south towards us. And I'm looking at it, it's coming across, and it looks like a Pismo sand buggy. All open. And as it gets closer, here's this guy in shorts, a t-shirt. He's got Air Force goggles like on. He's coming straight at us, and it looks like he's completely covered in snow. Just looks like a snowman, complete. And he sees us, he stops, comes in front of us, he says, which way's La Paz? I go, what? And he goes, where's La Paz? And I go, that way. And again, not thinking, let's talk, guy goes, okay, flips it around again and takes off. And Wagon goes, why didn't you stop the guy? And I go, well, he asked me a question. I told him, and the guy takes off. And now I thought I was hallucinating. I said, did a guy just come up here? And he goes, yeah, and he didn't use the word idiot, but he said, you know, you just let him get away. Like I had any control over him, but I should have said, oh, well, wait, let's talk about it. You know, you came from, that's the way it is, that's south. Anyway, it's starting to get dark, but it's still light. And lo and behold, I see a stake bed coming down the road, just going boom, 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 you know, and I could see it. 20 minutes go by, I still see it coming, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes. I said, well, wait a minute, I could have ran over by the time this guy got here. And so he stops at the, quote, the village. It's a Mexican guy driving, a little kid sitting in the front seat, and a dog. I stop him, because they went into the village, come back. I stop them, pull up. They've got turtle shells in the back of this, which are turtles in the stake bed. And they tell me they're going to Ensenada. I said, okay. I said, I've got these jackets. We had $300 between us. $300, all these space stick things, my space blanket, everything we had. Couldn't you take us to Ensenada? He goes, okay, I got to unload the turtles. They unload the turtles at the huts. How do we get this car? We could push it, we could do it. And that thing weighed, I I mean, it was because at those days, you thought you were supposed to build a tank. You know, it's all they were doing was everything. It was counted against each other. It was amazing anything was on it. So we pushed the VW on, and there's this much room on either side of the stake bed now, on either side of there. It's right up against the deal. We tie it down the best we can with what we've got. I figure the kid's going to come and the dog in the back, and Wagle and I are going to sit in the front with this Mexican guy. Well, the kid is staying in the front seat, and the dog. So Wagle and I stand on either side, one on one side of the VW, he stands on the other side. But the problem was, he had a bad alternator. And I realized that every other cactus all the way back was, you didn't see anybody, but there was people living inside. And he not only was bringing the turtles, which he wasn't anymore, to Ensenada, he was bringing mail and stuff from people. So he would stop, wouldn't start, because the alternator wasn't working. They would have to do, I don't know, he did something, some trick, it got it going again. It got the starter to move, ran it up. It took us 3 days, which took us 8-10 hours going 40 miles an hour to get to Chapala. It took 3 days to get back to Ensenada. And you would think that I had had my fill of Mexico and Baja. Why would I ever want to see this country? That just lit a fire in me. So, I said, I know every inch of this road going backwards. Next time we race it, I'll know this section, But anyway, that photograph reminded me of it. It was just a great story for me to think that here it is, 69, 70. And then 73, 74, all of a sudden, I'm running SCORE, Well, I wasn't running it then, but, I'm in line to run it with Mickey. Kind of a crazy transition.
Every time we climb in our cars and pull our belts tight, new memories and stories are created. We are on a mission to bring these stories to light, both for our community and for those outside off-road to understand the allure. So please help us in sharing these stories.